guys, welcome back to an all new Missing Monday. I hope you all had a good weekend. I know I look really ridiculous sitting on the floor of my kitchen, but I quite literally had nowhere else to film because it is 7 p.m. and I'm about to head to a concert. But today's gonna be, again, a little bit of a different video. We're gonna be discussing 3 different John Does today, simply because on the Doe Network, where I look for most of my Jane and John Doe cases, the state of Arizona did have a very large amount of John Does. Most of them were all skeletal remains and had little to no information, meaning it was just a date the remains were found, what bones it was, and the location, and that was literally it. I couldn't find one specific case that had enough information to make a full video out of it, so I chose 3 different John Does who are very similar to our Jane Doe for Arizona. So each one of these John Does all have a possible identity that has not been able to be confirmed. So all 3 of these men are still classified as John Does. Now, before we get into it, make sure that you guys subscribe to my channel to join my little family. And with that, let's get into it. Our first John Doe, he was located in Pima County, just like our Jane Doe, but his remains were located on November 1st of 2000, so about 22 years ago. His remains were located in a place called Sassabee, Arizona. I apologize if I'm butchering that. His cause of death was categorized as an auto accident, as only hours before his remains were located, he was driving southbound on State Route 286 when he lost control of his 1975 Ford pickup truck. He was ejected from the vehicle and it rolled several times, and he died as a result of his injuries. He was estimated to be anywhere from 22 to 34 years old, Hispanic. He was 5 foot 7 inches and estimated to weigh around 188 pounds at the time of his death. He had black hair, brown eyes, a mustache, and noticeable facial hair. Now, he had a large scar on the back of his right shoulder that was possibly from a previous surgery, as well as numerous tattoos. He had a cross tattooed on the back of his right arm and the initials EAC tattooed on the back of his left arm. And he also had 2 black dots that were tattooed onto the inside of his lower left arm. His dental records showed that he did have 2 crowns that were placed on his 2 front teeth, and from the autopsy, they were able to get a full DNA profile. At the time of his death, he was wearing blue denim buttonfly jeans by the brand Levi, a black belt with a leather-covered buckle, a gray or black type of athletic jacket that had the words Los Angeles inscribed on the back of it, a brown or dark tan button-down shirt by the brand Atrac, white briefs with vertical black stripes, white socks with dark-colored fabric on the toe and heel part, and also a white and yellow watch by the brand Citizen. Now, they were also able to obtain fingerprints from his autopsy, and a search of his fingerprints showed up that he actually was registered under multiple different names, but unfortunately none of them have ever been confirmed to be him. This included the names Jose Gonzalez Martinez, Raymundo Aquino Cruz, Raymundo Aquino Crew, and Raymundo Aquino Cruz. So all of these aliases or names that he was registered under are all very similar, either just spelt differently or missing a letter here and there. Most likely this man is named one of those things, but no one has come forth to claim him, and to this day he is still categorized as a John Doe. Now, the photo of him that is displayed on the Doe Network is a photo that was taken of him in July of 1999, so just a few months before he died, but I don't necessarily understand how they do have this photo of him because they don't know his identity. But regardless of where this photo did come from or how they know that this man is the man in the photo, this man is someone something. He is either a father, a son, a brother, a husband. He's someone something, and someone out there knows who he is. I definitely do believe that this case is solvable. My only other question revolving around this specific John Doe is that the car that he was involved in the auto accident, they state that it was his vehicle, so wouldn't his registration or his license plate have his given name on it? unless the name that was registered on his car was also a fake alias. I'm not quite sure, but I've been thinking about that quite a lot since I researched his case. Now, if you have any information regarding the name or identity of this specific John Doe, you can contact the Pima County Medical Examiner's Office, and I'll put all the information on the screen for you guys. Next, we have a John Doe that was found on August 4th of 1997. He was located in a field next to Central and Buckeye in Phoenix, Arizona, which is in Maricopa County. His His cause of death was classified as a drug overdose, and just like our Jane Doe, he was found with fake identification paperwork that did have a name and a birth date on it, but unfortunately could not be confirmed to be him. His death was only hours prior to his discovery, and the paperwork that he was found with displayed the name Juan Martinez, and it had a birth date listed of April 13th of 1970. But to this day, like I said, he still remains a John Doe, as they were unable to confirm this identity. His body was in pretty good shape at the time of his discovery. Like I said, he'd only been dead for a couple hours before his body was found, and it was in such good shape that his face was recognizable, meaning that the stages of decomposition had not set in yet. He was estimated to be between the ages of 30 to 40 years old and stood at around 5 foot 5 inches. He weighed around 130 pounds at the time of his death, and they thought he might have been a Hispanic male. He had black hair, brown eyes, and a mustache, and he also had a 5.5-inch scar rotating around the front of his right knee. And just like our first John Doe, he also had quite a few noticeable and distinguishable tattoos. This included the letter B on the upper right of his chest in a Gothic style writing, a red rose on the upper right arm, a man's face with the number 13 over it on his upper left arm, and the word Tijuana on the upper quadrant of his abdomen. And he also had some other illegible tattoos that were located on the right side of his lower chest. Now, they were able to obtain a dental record and a full DNA profile, but they were not able to obtain a fingerprint. And this again goes back to what I said last week in our Jane Doe video from Arizona. It doesn't necessarily make sense to me how he was only dead for a couple of hours before his body was found, and his body was in such good condition that they categorized him as fully recognizable, yet they weren't able to obtain a fingerprint from him. In August of 1977, the average temperature in Phoenix, Arizona was 104.4 degrees. So it would make sense that decomposition would set in faster compared to other areas of, say, the United States. But again, it wouldn't be enough time for decomposition to set in to the point where they wouldn't be able to obtain a fingerprint. When he was found, he was wearing tan shorts, a brown leather belt with a white metal buckle, a white t-shirt with the words Holmcroft Family Fellowship Camp on the front of it, and black Nike Air high-top sneakers. Now, I also feel strongly that this specific John Doe case can easily be solved. One, because he had paperwork, although fake, it did have a full name on it, so I'm assuming that was the name that he was going by. So somebody out there knows a man by this name. And also tattoos. I have very strong feelings about tattoos. I have quite a few of them, but more so, I think they are a great identifier for if something really unfortunate were to happen to you and you were in a position where someone needed to identify your body. Tattoos are like fingerprints. Any tattoo you get is going to look different, even if it is the same as somebody else's, because every single artist has a different style, uses different equipment, and most people get tattoos on all different parts of their body. So you might have a rose like somebody else, but your rose will look different. It'll be on a different part of your body. So I think because he has such distinguished tattoos, for example, a man with the number 13 written over it, I mean, somebody somewhere did this tattoo, and so someone knows who he is. If you have any information regarding the identity of this specific John Doe, you can contact the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office, and again, I'll put all the information up on the screen for you guys. Moving on to our last John Doe, his body was located on May 2nd of 2002 in a place called Apache Junction, Arizona, which is located in Pinal County. His body was discovered near Tomahawk Road and Broadway Road, and his cause of death was thought to have been hyperthermia and dehydration. So basically he died of heat exhaustion and an excessively high body temperature, which in turn paired with dehydration would definitely unfortunately be enough to kill someone. He had been dead quite a few days prior to his discovery, so unfortunately that paired with the heat, he was not recognizable due to decomposition and putrefaction. This specific man was last seen alive on April 28th of 2002 by a man who claimed that he brought water to him. He was a transient who was living around the deserts in the area for which his body was found, but the man who brought him water said he didn't know his name. When his body was found, he was wearing black jeans by the brand Guess, a burgundy t-shirt, a black belt with a white metal clasp, and a red and white inlay, and white socks. Now, despite the state of decomposition that his body was found in, they were able to obtain a full DNA profile, fingerprints, and dental records, which is really helpful. He also had very distinct dental records. Now, his teeth showed signs of something called shovel-shaped incisors, which basically means the back of his teeth were hollow and it gave a shape that looked like a shovel. He also had really black, curly and coarse hair with patterns of frontal and crown balding. His age was estimated to be between the ages of 26 and 44, and the large age gap is due to the state of decomposition because they weren't able to necessarily see a full rendering of what he would have looked like prior to death. So there is a large estimation of what his age possibly could have been. He was measured to be 5 foot 9 inches, but he only weighed 106 pounds at the time of his death, and this can also be a reason for the large age gap. He was severely malnourished, and because of that, it was definitely harder to pinpoint a more accurate age. He was thought to be a Hispanic male, but his eye color could not be determined because of the state of decomposition, and he also had a mustache and a beard. He, like our other two John Does from Arizona, did have some distinguishable tattoos, and this included a woman wearing a hat that was on his left shoulder, a woman's face along with a bird that was located on his right shoulder, a star or an asterisk type shape that was located on his right hand between the thumb and index finger, and a stylistic symbol or possibly the letter F, which was located on his left hand between his thumb and his index finger. This specific John Doe, the FBI did make a profile for him, so he is listed on the FBI's website, but the FBI, unlike the Doe Network's profile, did list that he possibly went by the name Frank or Francisco. So that is why I pulled him for this specific video, because once again, he does have a possible alias. Unfortunately, I do feel like his case might be a bit harder to solve in terms of identity than the other two men, just because of the state of decomposition and because he was a transient. We don't know if he was from that area, and he could have probably been from absolutely anywhere. Now, if he was a transient or he was homeless, that means he probably didn't have a lot of friends or family nearby. You don't know that, but my feelings for his case, unfortunately, is that it's going to be a little bit harder to solve his case. Now, like I stated for the last two, I think his tattoos being so specific, someone somewhere did those tattoos. So someone somewhere knows who he is. So I am hopeful that we can solve his identity and hopefully give him his name back. If you have any information regarding the identity of this specific John Doe, you can contact the Pinal County Medical Examiner's Office, the Apache Junction Police Department, or your local FBI office or American Embassy. I just find it incredibly interesting that all three of them have names that they either went by or names that they were thought to have gone by, and I also think, again, the distinguishing tattoos is a really interesting part of this case. That is all the information that I have pertaining to these three John Doe cases. If you guys did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and comment down below what you thought about these three John Does, and I will see you guys next week with an all new Missing Monday. Bye.